Broadcasting stations. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here's your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
On two, on three, take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back, so it's root for Chicago. If they don't win, it's a shame. Or if but you're out at the old ball game. Let's get some run!
Thank you, Bill Murray. And yes, you know what that means. We've got baseball. The second longest work stoppage came to an end. Compromise won out. Players got gains. Owners got things they wanted. Opening day will be April the 7th. It'll be the first of, yes, ladies and gentlemen, all 162 games. They got it done in time. Tim Doolin will join us at about 10:10, 10:12, and we'll talk about this resolution and the season, and we'll be able on Tuesdays from here on out to actually talk baseball with Timmy. Opening night for the Tigers here in Fort Worth. It is a cold, it is a bleak-looking, cloudy day. There's no snow. I know all the golf courses in Memphis have been closed. No snow here yet, but it is different than it was yesterday. And the Tigers will take on UCF, a team they split with this year, a team that beat USF just barely, a team without two players. They're down, but they do have a very good net. And so it could be a very good win for the U of M if they are to be successful. Jason Munz from the Commercial Appeal will join us at about 10:25. The Grizzlies and Golden State are tied after Golden State was a winner coming from behind in Denver last night. And we'll talk about down the stretch we come with our agent in Chicago and our friend, the Memphian Andy Schiffman. He'll join us at about 10:45. So we are incredibly busy. We'll start with the baseball. The owners were unanimous in accepting this new deal. The players, 26 of 38 of their reps said okay. Player gains include minimum salaries, competitive tax balance that they were shooting for. There's a $50 million arbitration pool for younger players yet to get to arbitration to get some money. There's going to be a universal DH. As much as I hate that, the designated hitter will now be in the National League as well. The owners get expanded postseason. They're going to get advertising on uniforms. There'll be a 45-day window for rule changes. They got a lot of that. And even the commissioner, this is a win for the entire sport if it really does occur. And maybe he got a message from the owners that he had to do this. But he said he's not done a good job of having a relationship with the players. He reached out to the union head yesterday in an effort to try and get better at that. We will see if that occurs. The Tigers and UCF tonight are going to be interesting. Memphis now 19-9, UCF 18-11. So it is a quad 2 game for the Tigers, who lost to this team without DeAndre Williams, without Earl Timberlake, without Chandler Lawson in the game. I mean, they were down a bunch of guys. And there is a player that came from Oregon, C.J. Walker, who was really good in the first game when they lost. He had 12 points and 7 rebounds and a really good shooter. I mean, they got one of the better shooters in Darren Green in the league. He had 20, and they won that game. Second game, Tigers had everybody except for Amani Bates, and they're not going to have Amani Bates, I don't think, the rest of the way. He is not on this trip. And the Tigers destroyed them 88-60. Duran, Minot, all had big games. Inside, Memphis has a huge advantage. Harris had a big game in both games. Tigers shot 56% in that second game. They're 8-point favorites. Like it opened up, J-Mo, at 6.5. Memphis is getting the money coming in on them. And UCF is missing a key player in Brandon Mahan, who was second team all-conference in the preseason. They had another guy who was Mr. Florida in basketball, the best recruit they've really, I think, ever had. He has not lived up to the billing. He hasn't played in the last few games either. So they're down, folks. I see why it's an 8-point advantage for Memphis coming in.
Yeah, if you yesterday, UCF certainly, it makes sense what you said. They have guys out because they didn't look great yesterday in that close game with South Florida. And I think the fact that they had a close game with South Florida yesterday is probably a good sign for the Tigers as well.
I think so too, and that could have gone either way. 60-58, that was the final in that game. I just don't think they can stop Memphis inside. They got one guy who's been pretty good. He played at UNLV last year. His name is Chek Mbake Jong. He was actually the co-captain, and the reason he decided to leave and go to UCF was because he is from the same hometown in Senegal as Taco Fall. And I guess he thought, well, look what Johnny Dawkins did for Taco Fall. Maybe he can do that for me. And he went there, and he's been an effective player. But I think he's going to have a hard time with an improved Duran. That is for certain. So we'll have to wait and see and watch on that one. All right, help me out here. Walk me through this, J-Mo. I think I'm okay with this because I think that Khalil Mack is on the backside of his career. He did not have a great year last year. He's been injured most of the time he was with Chicago, minus that first year when he had 12.5 sacks and the Bears won 12 games and went to the playoffs. But he's not been the same. But basically, they dumped salary. They sent him to the Chargers for a second-round pick and a sixth-round pick. I've seen stories where they say both the Chargers and the Bears won because the Bears shed themselves, I think it's like $45 million or something like that. No, it's like $55 million, excuse me. $56 million that the Bears save. Hopefully they get some offensive linemen out of that. But I liked Khalil Mack. I thought he was a symbol for Chicago. Maybe this is really symbolic of the change. Remember, they had new head coach, new general manager. Maybe this is symbolic of a total change.
Well, I feel like there's two teams that I love having like a dominant defensive player of the year in the front seven. That's the Bears and the Giants. So it's a shame to see Khalil Mack leave the Bears, but I was reading last night, and Brandon Staley, I guess, was his linebacker coach for the Bears when they originally got him from the Raiders. So apparently Brandon Staley, understandably so, really liked Khalil Mack, coaching Khalil Mack, so it would make sense that maybe he's got a little affinity for him and thinks they can win now with him.
Maybe so. I hate to see it, but like I say, if they get an offensive line, if they get help in that with all this extra money and coming up on the 16th, it's free agency, if they parlay that into some critical players, because the Bears have a couple of other young defensive linemen that can really help, then maybe this move is good. But you hate to see a superstar get moved, especially when you really get nothing out of it. A second-round pick and
Dave, did we lose you? Dave, you there? All right, it sounds like we lost Dave just then. Let's go take a really early break, it seems like, and we'll be right back on Sports 56 with Wolo and Friends.
You have opinions?
What do you hear? What do you say?
We want to hear them. Call or text us on the AutoZone listener line at 360-8255. That's the AutoZone listener line at 901-360-8255.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
The global shortage on chicken is finally over, but there are still places that will tell you that it is hard to find, except for our good friends at Poultry Power. Poultry Power is currently delivering chicken in bulk to your home or business at prices lower than your local grocer or food distributor. Having a cookout or catering event? Tired of being told no by other food companies when you need chicken for your restaurant? Poultry Power can save the day. Visit www.poultrypower.org to place your order now. And remember, when others tell you no, Poultry Power has the power to tell you yes.
5-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. Roofing and siding, gutters too. We're the pros you can trust to get it done right. Call on us. 5-Ash Roofing, the name to know. 5-Ash Roofing, the only way to go. 5-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. 5-Ash Roofing.
Is that not the corniest thing you've ever heard? Can you believe I paid good money for that silly jingle? Well, the experts say make it memorable, and I think I got my money's worth. 5-Ash Roof Services, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Tigers home team. 5-Ash Roofing, 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Hi, folks. Bob Burkham for Sunrise Chevy. Good news for new and used car and truck buyers. The Sunrise Chevy Ranch has a great selection of new and used cars and trucks, and Sunrise specializes in low monthly payments and secondary financing. At sunrisememphis.com, you can select your vehicle, get your trade appraised, arrange financing and delivery. We'll deliver right to your doorstep, inspected and ready to go, no matter what your past credit. Sunrise wants to get you financed. Immediate financing with next to nothing down. Need body or service work? Bring it to Sunrise or schedule an appointment online. Find new roads to Sunrise Chevy, 385 in Houston, Levy, Collierville.
We welcome you back here in Dallas-Fort Worth. I apologize for the technical difficulty. You know, I always talk about the high tech that we are. And I have this incredible app that is a tie line to the radio station so that hopefully the quality is good. What I did not know until just now is that if I get a phone call, it knocks me off. So anybody listening that knows me and has my number, don't call me when we are on the air. In the meantime, we're going to talk some baseball with Tim Doolin about the fact that we are going to have baseball. Who won, who lost. Most people think it was a pretty good compromise. We'll figure that out with Tim Doolin in a minute. I'll let you know I'm in the Family Leisure West or Southwest studios. I need you to get to Family Leisure, not only to find the latest in outside equipment. You know, outside space is getting bigger and bigger, like outside kitchens. I got a bowl from there. But they're also starting to really hire. They've gotten so big now, and people are just loving their homes and their patios and pools and things of that nature since the pandemic. So if you're looking for a new direction with employment and you're reliable and you're self-motivated, this could be the place for you. Good paying jobs, great people to work for. Just head over to I-40 and Whidden Road and chat with them because they have positions all over the place, from cashiers to installers to salespeople. It's a big opportunity for you. Just see my friends at Family Leisure. And this portion of the show is brought to you by Sheldon Rosengarten, Mark Spensdorf Realtors. His wife, Shelley, has just come through from a big medical procedure. I just want her to know we're so happy for her. She's a big Tiger fan, and her friends are here in Fort Worth. I know she wishes she was with them all, but the good news is she is going to be okay, and you'll be okay if you are looking to move a home or to buy a home, even to relocate out of town. The best guy there is Sheldon Rosengarten. He calls himself a real estate athlete. He gets into his stance and spins through those tricky inspections and appraisals. He can get the 100-yard closing table dash in about 12 minutes flat. His wingspan combined with his jumping skills, well, it helps his clients beat the competition in those notorious bidding wars. He likes to say, see three people, make sure he's one of them, and then you're going to choose the guy that always seems to sell the house. That's Sheldon Rosengarten with the Shell Bucks and that incredible marketing strategy. You call him at 483-0546 or get to memphisrelocate.com. Tim Doolin joins us now. You are about a week late in your prognostication, but we'll take it. All 162 games are going to be played. Was there a winner or a loser, or was compromise the winner?
I think compromise was the winner. You know, ironically enough, people that follow it, there was an executive committee of the players that voted unanimously 8-0 to not accept the owner's proposal, and then I believe it was 26 of the 30 teams which have representatives voted to accept it. So I think what happened there was, on that 8-man committee, it was probably guys that, you know, are locked up pretty well and financially set. And although, you know, they went against the executive committee, I think the executive committee did a really good job of getting a lot of things back from the previous CBA agreements. And I think everybody's happy. I really do. I think it's good. I think we're going to see some changes in what we talked about last week as far as eliminating the shift over the next 2 years, creating a pitch clock that's going to hopefully speed the games up a little bit. But all in all, I think there was a lot of good things accomplished for both sides.
All right, so let's talk about some of those individually. Player gains. We talked earlier about minimum salaries and baseballs being the worst. It goes to $700,000 now, I think. Within 3 or 4 years, it gets up to $750,000. Good, bad, indifferent?
No, very good. I think it was an increase of 20 to 23%, which is really good. Young players are deserving. I think one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is, and I think I touched on it the last time we were on, is that the average major league career is probably less than 4 years. So we all are well aware of the guys that sign the long-term contracts and make that kind of money, but getting players early in their careers making a substantial amount of money, and then also rewarding. They put money in like a pool for the top young players. The top young players in the game that perform at a high level are going to be rewarded with bonuses. So
that's the pre-arbitration pool that you're talking about.
That's the pre-arbitration pool. So guys like Vlad Jr. would have gotten a bonus last year of over $1 million based on this new formula. Corbin Burns, a really good young pitcher for the Brewers, would have gotten like almost $2 million as a bonus. So all in all, I think it's a really good thing to reward younger players and to really, with all of the analytics and where the owners were going and using more younger players because it was more beneficial to them from an economic standpoint. I think that bridged that gap a little bit.
So that and you're only eligible if you're pre-arbitration to get that money. So in other words, finally a young player who performs well is not penalized at all. The competitive tax balance, did that meet your satisfaction?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it really the players and I think somewhat of the owners, but the players want they want more parity in the game, and I think we've seen it in definitely in basketball and in some regards football, but I think where teams by the All-Star break are not completely out of it, because they've got to eventually start balancing out how much money is there to spend. So the top markets, Los Angeles, New York, the Mets, the Red Sox are not going to be the ones that are always being able to spend the money because they're making it. So I think they accomplished that as well.
So they did up that salary cap to a sizable amount. So
they did. They did.
Yeah. So that sort of evens things out. And then thing I hate the most, but it's here and I got to accept it, is the universal DH. And that's good for the players, I guess, because older players that can still hit will get to stick around longer.
No, there's no question about that. I agree with you to some extent, where I think there's been, over the years, there's obviously more strategy with the pitcher having to hit. But to be honest with you, with all the things that they've done with shifts and things like that, let's get the shift out of here and play. That way we got two guys on each side, and you can manipulate hit and runs more, bunts more, and you got a DH. But I think overall that's a good compromise, and obviously it's good for players. And I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be shocked, Wolo, to see Albert in St. Louis. I really wouldn't. I think it's going to happen.
Wow.
It's just my gut. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I definitely haven't talked to Daniel Zano. He's knee deep in dealing with trying to get free agents, and that's a whole nother issue. You've got arbitration cases that have to be heard. You've got free agents that have to be dealt with, and you've got less than 3.5 weeks before the season starts. So obviously free agents don't have to be done by then, and I think there might be a couple of guys like the premier, Trevor Story might be a guy that has to wait, but all the arbitration cases have to be heard before the season starts.
Were you surprised they didn't cancel any games?
No, because that was one of the biggest sticking points for the players, is they're going to get getting paid for 162. And I'm glad they're going to play 2. They're going to play 9-inning doubleheaders, not 7.
Me too.
And so
I
think the players are fine with that as long as it's spread out, which is what they're going to do.
Two things I know that the owners won on. They get 12 teams in the postseason, not 14, 12. Maybe 14 was too watered down. And advertising on uniforms like the NBA. Oh, my goodness.
Well, I mean, I don't think the players have a problem with that. I mean, you got, Nike went in and basically they don't really, to be honest with you, Nike doesn't have a big presence in youth baseball. They just want the swoosh on everything, right? And that's what sells product. And so they've already got the swoosh on everything. And so now you're just going to add some other things. Hopefully they do it in good taste where it's not, it's not a high school outfield banner on the jerseys,
Right.
But it's money coming in, and hopefully the players. Obviously the players saw that was going to benefit everybody, and I think where baseball's at right now is they got to get back to where the game is enjoyed by the younger fans, not just being played by younger people, but younger fans, and then they've got to spread. They got to spread their wings a little bit and get outside of the United States and outside of Latin America. They've got to get into and I think they've showed something yesterday where they're going to be having exhibitions in I think London and some other places that you would have never thought. So I think that's good for the game.
Yeah, no doubt. In 30 seconds, 12 teams okay with you?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it is good. That way you've got teams that, might be third place in a division like we saw last year in the West, where that third place team's got no shot. It's the Dodgers and the Giants. And then the third place team's out. So now you're going to have an opportunity for teams to not tank and to try to stay in the race as long as they can to get in that 12.
Timmy, thank you much. I appreciate it. And we'll have some stuff to really talk about next Tuesday.
Sounds good. Go Tigers.
There you go. That is our Tim Doolin, former Tiger baseball player. Our title sponsor for this hour of the program, it's Homer Skelton Hyundai, right at the corner of Highway 78. That's Lamar and Memphis, and the very first exit in Mississippi, Craft Road. Turn left, go see Chris True, who pledges to you he will never, ever ask you for more than sticker price on any new car, no matter what the situation. Not all dealerships can say that. Some have taken advantage of the shortage. Not at Homer Skelton Hyundai, where they've raised the par the way car business should be. We'll pause for a short break. When we come back, Jason Munz is also in Fort Worth. We'll talk about the Tigers' chances for the NCAA and tonight's game against UCF with the beat writer from the Commercial Appeal in just 1 minute.
You have opinions?
The knowledge that I have matters.
We want to hear them. Call or text us on the AutoZone listener line at 360-8255. That's the AutoZone listener line at 901-360-8255.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
The global shortage on chicken is finally over, but there are still places that will tell you that it is hard to find, except for our good friends at Poultry Power. Poultry Power is currently delivering chicken in bulk to your home or business at prices lower than your local grocer or food distributor. Having a cookout or catering event? Tired of being told no by other food companies when you need chicken for your restaurant? Poultry Power can save the day. Visit www.poultrypower.org to place your order now. And remember, when others tell you no, Poultry Power has the power to tell you yes.
5-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. Roofing and siding, gutters too. We're the pros you can trust to get it done right. Call on us. 5-Ash Roofing, the name to know. 5-Ash Roofing, the only way to go. 5-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. 5-Ash Roofing.
Is that not the corniest thing you've ever heard? Can you believe I paid good money for that silly jingle? Well, the experts say make it memorable, and I think I got my money's worth. 5-Ash Roof Services, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Tigers home team. 5-Ash Roofing, 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Hi, folks, Bob Burkham for Sunrise Chevy. Good news for new and used car and truck buyers. The Sunrise Chevy Ranch has a great selection of new and used cars and trucks, and Sunrise specializes in low monthly payments and secondary financing. At sunrisememphis.com, you can select your vehicle, get your trade appraised, arrange financing and delivery. We'll deliver right to your doorstep, inspected and ready to go, no matter what your past credit. Sunrise wants to get you financed. Immediate financing with next to nothing down. Need body or service work? Bring it to Sunrise or schedule an appointment online. Find new roads to Sunrise Chevy, 385 in Houston, Levy, Collierville.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome back in. We're brought to you, of course, by the good folks at Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, the tune-ups, those are so critical. I've had a couple of those over the last couple of weeks. And here's the other aspect, and I love talking about this because they have a comfort club. They do these tune-ups. The way they come in and do their inspections and their tune-ups is really, really impressive. From every little detail, they know your systems, and they tune up inside those 16. They're going to put their slippers on to go into your home, clean up everything incredibly, then go outside, clean the outside units, get all the dirt and the grime out, and we got air conditioning season coming here soon. Make sure yours is tuned up so that you're efficient. First off, your system will last years longer. And secondly, your MLGW bill will go down because you're running efficiently. All you got to do is make the call 384-3511. That's Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. I go down the street somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where my friend Jason Munz is staying, the beat writer of the Commercial Appeal, here for the American Athletic Conference Tournament. He joins us now. I want to start with something different because when we talked earlier this morning, I hadn't quite read your article on Tony Madlock and what a great guy he is and what a nice piece that was. I think he sounds, at least you tell me, you talk to him, very happy where he is.
Yeah, he is. It was nice to catch up with him, and yeah, like he was when I called him, he was on that bus going up to a game against North Carolina Central, and I mean, he sounded enthusiastic and you know, not just happy, but like enthusiastic about the way things are going, and a lot of that. Obviously, he's turned it around there. They won one game last year at South Carolina State. One game. He called it the worst job in America when he took it, and it's not he's not wrong. This again, he took over a bad situation, and not only were they not winning really at all when he came in, they had 8 scholarships. 8 scholarships. NCAA allows you a max of 13 scholarships, and he only had 8 because of the school doesn't have the resources. They don't have the money to fully, fund scholarships for men's basketball. And so, despite all of that, though, they've won, and he's doing it with his son, and I think that's a huge part of it as well.
His son, by the way, unfortunately, they lost their last 2 games. When you did that piece, they were 15 and 14. They lost their last 2 games, including the one in the tournament. And TJ Madlock, his son, 19 points, 11 rebounds. Wow! But their season is over now, 15 and 16, unfortunately.
It is unfortunate. But like a lot of those games that I think they finished the year losing 4 in a row or something like that. But I think 3 of the 4 were close. They were winning at halftime. In the MEAC tournament opener, they were winning at halftime. So, even in the losses, they're competitive. You can tell they're just going in a really nice direction. And it's largely because of Tony Madlock, and you just couldn't be happier for him. And you hope that he's able to continue that momentum.
It's a great feel-good story, no question about it. And in your story, folks, go read it because he talks about some of the guys he signed early and will be even better next year. All right, let's turn our attention here in Fort Worth, and let's sort of sort this out, Jason, because there seems to be a lot of confusion. Many of us think after that second Houston win, Memphis is in the tournament one way or another. Whether they got to go to Dayton or not, who knows? I think if they win tonight, they don't have to worry about that, but I'm not 100% certain. So I think it's good they're playing UCF, not USF, because USF was a 200-plus net, and today the net on the Knights is 96, so it's a top 100 game.
Yep. Yeah, and that's definitely. I mean, win or lose, that's certainly better than. Some could say that even a loss to a team, a top 100 team, is better than a win over a sub 200 team.
Right.
I don't know. I'd say that's somewhat debatable, but
yeah.
You'd much rather face UCF because it's only going to help you if you win it, and it's not going to hurt you too bad if you lose it.
Do you think they're in the tournament no matter what at this moment?
Yes, I do. You see the way things are shaken out. I think the bubble is down. I think there's going to be some teams that get in that Memphis is very clearly, their resume is very clearly better than some of these, last 3 or 4 at-large teams that get in. It's just like the bubble's kind of weak, I think, as we've seen it play out here over the last week or two. And like after Memphis got off of it by beating, when they beat Houston, they got off of it, and it's kind of a weak bubble this year. And so I don't think that, I don't think that anything that happens from here on out knocks them back to the point where they're not in.
If they win tonight, and let's say they play SMU, and SMU really got a break last night when Tulsa beat Wichita State. I mean, Wichita State was awful in this basketball game, and their fans, I was sitting in their fans section. I mean, they're turning on Isaac Brown. They think they were crazy to sign him to that extension. But Wichita State looked awful. Tulsa beats them. And SMU beat Tulsa handily both times they played. That's a bad matchup for them. You got to figure SMU is in. If Memphis beats SMU for the first time out of the 3 tries and plays in the championship game, let's not even consider that for a moment. Where's their seed?
If they beat SMU?
Yeah.
I think you're probably in the 9-10 range at that point.
Yeah.
I know Joe Lunardi at ESPN has Memphis as an 8 this morning. I don't know. I tend to think that he's got a strong grasp on the pulse of the selection committee. There was earlier this week he had him as an 11, and then he bumped him up to a 9 and like overnight. And
right.
It makes you wonder. Did somebody kind of reach out to him and give him a little nudge and say, hey, you're undervaluing Memphis here, because there would have been no other reason for nothing had happened overnight that would make him, change it that drastically. And so, I'd like to believe that Memphis is an 8 right now, but I don't know. I don't know that, and so I think your safe bet, if you beat SMU, if you're Memphis and you beat SMU, I think you're safely in the 9 to 10 range, probably closer to a 9.
All right. Now, let's say you win the championship. So let's just go over this. If they do that, they get SMU, that's their 5th quad 1 win, then beat Houston a 3rd time. That is their 6th quad 1 win. Certainly, if Lunardi's got them at 8 this morning, that's got to move them up at least 1 seed line. Don't they become a 7? And wouldn't it be unfair to a 1 to put a team like that as an 8?
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. It would be a a pretty big disservice to your 1 seed, to whatever 1 seed that has to face Memphis in the second round. That would be, that would a lot of people that would draw some pretty strong reactions, I would think, from one fan base. But I think if you are Memphis and not only you win these 3 games, but you win them convincingly. Like you beat SMU by double digits and you beat UCF tonight.
Well, I'm just going to caution you there. I don't think Memphis can beat SMU by double digits. I think SMU's matchup with them is pretty strong on the way Jankovic controls pace of a game. I think it's pretty hard I don't know why that matchup is so poor, because they don't have a good interior game, although Marcus Weathers is pretty good. But double digits, I think just win that game. I'm not looking at double digits.
I mean, I'm with you, but you know what? They've won 10 out of their last 11. Memphis has 9 of those 10 wins have been by 9 points or more, and 8 of those wins have been by double digits. They beat UCF.
But Jason, the loss was to SMU.
That's true. It was, but you know what? It was on SMU's floor, and it was the 3rd game in a row on the road. And you could be the hottest team in the country, having to play 3 games in 7 days, all on the road. I mean, I'm giving Memphis a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt here because of the way they're playing and the way they're winning. They just beat Houston by 15.
They did at home, and a second time. So that is obviously very, very convincing, and they were up bigger in that game than that number that we know. All right, let's focus in last thing on tonight's game with UCF down both Brendan Mahan and Isaiah Adams. Mahan was maybe their second or third best player. Adams was the future, right? He was Mr. Basketball in the state of Florida. He hasn't quite lived up to that billing, but they're both out. I'm pretty sure they didn't play against USF last night. What happens in this game tonight?
I think, and I know I just got finished saying that, Memphis is looking very strong. They're beating teams by double digits. I know I just said all that. I made the prediction this morning that Memphis is going to win by 6. I think they win. I think Memphis wins, but I think it's going to be – I think UCF is just pesky for some reason. I know Memphis beat them by 28 just a couple of weeks ago in Memphis, but I think, that's going to be stuck in UCF's craw. And, UCF's fighting for their life. They know that they're going nowhere. They're not going to the NCAA tournament unless they win here, so they're going to be fighting like heck. And I don't know, maybe, you hope if you're a Memphis fan that they're not looking past, they're not, looking to SMU tomorrow, potentially. I don't know. I feel like Memphis will win, but I feel like it's going to be a little bit closer than you'd like if you're Memphis.
And Wes Miller said something interesting yesterday after Cincinnati was very fortunate to win their game with East Carolina, and they were. He said the first game of a tournament is always the toughest in his mind. And this will be the first game for Memphis. It'll be the second game for UCF. UCF's legs may be a little bit more weary, and they are not deep with the loss of those 2 guys. I think Memphis is going to win this game, and I think they're going to win it comfortably, but we shall see. Jason, always a pleasure. We shall chat with you next week, hopefully near some venue that is attached to the NCAA tournament.
All right. I look forward to it. Thanks.
Me too. That is our friend Jason Munns, the terrific beat writer for the Commercial Appeal of the U of M. This portion of the show is brought to you by the Spirit Shop. You know Eddie Connor's place right there at the corner of St. Nick and Poplar. It's 4848 Poplar to be exact. You know, it's right down from Clark Towers, that little log cabin. You've seen it forever, and they should be your headquarters to stock up for what could be a very joyous and long weekend beginning tonight at about 8:30 or so when the Tigers play. Maybe we'll be sipping something after that one. Getting ready to play either SMU or Tulsa, most likely SMU. So my point is, if you like to celebrate with champagne, if you like to celebrate with good wine, if you like to celebrate with a bargain with wine, if you like rare bourbons or up-and-comers, tequila, vodka, gin, whatever it may be, they've got it. Maybe you're looking for a local IPA. Oh, by the way, they got that too. They got everything you need to celebrate at the Spirit Shop at Poplar and St. Nick. We talk NBA with our friend Andy Schiffman, our agent down in Chicago. He comes your way in just a minute.
Former Memphis Tiger Gabe Kuhn joins Brett Norsworthy for Sports Time on Sports 56, presented by Lexus of Memphis. Weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Are you ready for the Gossett Mitsubishi Spring Sales Event? It's on at Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. Need 41 MPG Highway with gas prices that keep soaring? We got you covered in 2022 Mitsubishi Mirage G4. $189 a month or $14,999. 5 seats, 27 MPG combined. 2022 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport. $299 a month or $23,037. Plus, redesigned 2022 Outlander with 7-passenger seating and 27 MPG combined. $359 a month or $26,998. And get our stellar 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Gossett got it at Gossett Mitsubishi, 1870 Covington Pike, or shop online at memphismitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
72 months, 500 military rebate, G4, NHF 03943, MSRP 16985, Sport, NU 06786, MSRP 25407, Outlander NZO 6388, MSRP 292, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 695, excludes tax, title, and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 2/28/22, dealer stock only.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
If you have damage to your home and have your insurance carrier involved, you need a great contractor. You also need a team that has seen claims of all shapes and sizes, residential or commercial. After our inspection, we'll share our findings and give you our professional opinion. Some people say you get what you pay for. However, our opinion is free. Trust the name you can depend on, like the tens of thousands of families Brian and I have served over the past 20 years here in the Mid-South. Brian Elder Roofing. We'll measure your roof from outer space and share our team's experience for your property and claim. Repaired roofs, replacement roofs, big roofs, tiny roofs, insurance roofs, flat roofs, TPO roofs, asphalt roofs, tile roofs, slate roofs, metal roofs. If your roof needs some love, call me. 901-867-0303 for Brian Elder Roofing and Contracting.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again, it's the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
To Chicago we go. We talk NBA with our agent from Priority Sports. That is Memphian Andy Schiffman. He joins us now as we're getting closer and closer to the end of the season. Everybody's talking college basketball, at least for the next couple of weeks, and then it'll be hot and heavy NBA. There's some good stories, and let's start with a story last night of the the Brooklyn Nets destroying the Philadelphia 76ers in Philly after when Ben Simmons came out just for warm-ups. He was booed incessantly. He actually dunked one time while rebounding for a player warming up, and the crowd erupted in cheers because remember he turned down that dunk last year. I mean, they were really pitifully mean to him, and his net teammates backed him up last night.
Hey, all that matters is the result at the end of the day. Brooklyn got a huge win. They completely shut down Joel Embiid, who shot 5 for 17 for that one. Obviously, Durant, Steph Curry had a huge game. Kyrie, they were clicking on all cylinders. So I know Brooklyn wanted to come through for their new teammate, even though he wasn't playing. As a basketball fan, would have loved to have seen him play, see what would have transpired had he actually suited up in Philadelphia. But it was definitely a fun atmosphere. I mean, it was a surprising result. I thought Philadelphia, for as good as they've been all season, was surely going to win. But I think the Nets just stepped up. They really stepped up defensively, and they got a huge win.
Honestly, that shocked me. I really thought Philly was going to beat the heck out of the Nets, especially without Simmons playing. But Irving's playing and Durant's playing, and this was a revenge game for Curry. You mentioned him; he was a Philly guy, and he I guess felt slighted about that trade, and I mean he really hurt them. Is Ben Simmons going to help the Nets that much with the way the chemistry is if Irving can play every game now?
I think Ben, when he's a game changer, where he is a game changer, David, is defensive. And I don't think Brooklyn really has anyone really like that. I think Durant's pretty good defensively when he locks in. I mean, Kyrie obviously is a guard. And you're talking about Ben Simmons, who's 6'10", that can guard 1 through 5. Those players defensively are few and far between in the NBA. And I would like to think the new environment will rejuvenate Ben. It will really just make him care a lot more. And you'll see that fire and intensity on the defensive end of the floor whenever he does come back. So I do think he'll play. I'm not really going to sit there and say he's going to come out of the gate and put up 25, 30 points a game. Obviously, he's never been known as a perimeter-oriented player to sit there and shoot threes the whole game. But I think defensively, he's really going to move the needle for them.
The East is weird because I really thought that trade was going to make Philly the best team in the East. Now, I may be wrong for sure.
And I think
I saw.
We can still see that. Yeah, I think we can still see that.
Well, what about Miami? They got a 2-game cushion in the East. Nobody's talking about them. The Bulls have slipped down. The defending champions, Milwaukee, are in that mix. I mean, who's the best team in the East?
Look, I still say it's Philadelphia. When it's all said and done, even after the trade, after getting Harden, I think there is a little bit of and maybe we're past this point, a little acclimation period, transition period when you're learning to play without a Steph Curry and learning to play with James Harden, who has the ball in his hands every possession. So that's a good thing. I mentioned him before, George Niang, who absolutely loves playing with James. He's created a ton of more shot opportunities for George. And so I think there's maybe still a little bit of an adaptation where everyone's kind of getting used to playing with James. But at the end of the day, in a 7-game series in the playoffs, I mean, Miami's a very good team. I mentioned Boston last week. I think they're a very good team, but I don't think anyone wants to see Philadelphia. I would still probably put Milwaukee and Philadelphia as the top 2 for me in terms of who are true, let's say, finals contenders. And I would not be surprised if Miami or Boston make it. I'd be a little bit surprised if Chicago or Cleveland can go that far and make even the Eastern Conference Finals. But I would say, for me, Milwaukee, Philadelphia are probably 1, and 1A would be Boston and Miami.
Wow, that is going to be fun. In the West, we'll get to the Grizzlies in a second, but I do want to ask you about the Lakers. The Lakers at this very moment are 5.5 games out of the playoffs. They're still in the play-in. They're only 3 games from not making any postseason at all. Have we seen the beginning of the end of the Lakers right when the story of Jerry Buss is going on this HBO thing that they're doing about Magic Johnson and Showtime?
Yeah. It's a perfect storm of all these things happening at once. Unfortunately, I do. I think we've seen it for a while. I think you hear all this turmoil internally with Westbrook and LeBron and some of the other teammates wanting him to come off the bench and potentially just getting rid of him altogether at some point. And then he comes out and Westbrook has a great game, but they lose in overtime the other night to the league's worst team in Houston with LeBron playing. I've talked to some of my players around the league, and the consensus is, even with LeBron and Russell Westbrook playing and those guys being healthy, they're just bad. They're not as good as they used to be. I don't know if you attribute that to the age of some of their core players, no Anthony Davis, whatever the case may be. The internal strife with the Lakers organization certainly doesn't help things. But I don't see the Lakers all of a sudden stepping up and going on a tear and even making the playoffs. So they're starting with LeBron. They're really going to have some big decisions to make this offseason if they ever want to get back on track, and if LeBron ever wants to win a ring again.
Wow. I'm curious. Have you seen Show?
I have not seen it. No, I've actually been on the road this week, some conference tournaments. I'm in Kansas City now. I know you're probably in Dallas with the Tigers. So hopefully when I get back to Chicago, I have some time to catch up on that.
Well, I will say it's an interesting show. HBO usually does incredibly quality things. This is, I don't know if it's supposed to be a spoof or not, but if I were Jerry West, I'd sue him. I mean, they make him out to be the meanest, dumbest,
that's what I've heard,
craziest guy. It's he's not the nicest human being on the planet. I think most people who dealt with him would agree with you, and he's a little bit, how do I put it? Not consistent in personality. He has his ups and his downs, but, I mean, they make him out to be a raving lunatic in this. I don't know how they get away with that, but they do. All right, let's get to the Grizz. Yeah, the Grizz and the Golden State Warriors. Golden State won last night. They came from behind in Denver, surprisingly to me, and beat Joker. And now they are tied with the Grizzlies for second seed in the West. Who ends up the number 2 seed? Who ends up the number 3 seed, Andy Schiffman?
Well, I'm going to just be a little biased and go with the Grizzlies. And we talked about could they catch Golden State? Could they catch Phoenix? I don't think they're going to catch Phoenix. I don't think Golden State's going to catch Phoenix. I like the Grizzlies. I like their momentum. I think they've got a favorable schedule coming up where they can get on a roll again, and they're just so sound defensively. I don't know about the Warriors. We'll see what happens if and when Draymond comes back. Obviously, they still have Iguodala. Jordan Poole's been a huge X factor for them. Do they get James Wiseman back in time for the playoffs? He's playing some G League games now with Santa Cruz.
How's he doing? How is Wiseman doing in Santa Cruz?
I have not watched them or checked the box score or anything like that, so I have not. I couldn't tell you, and I can't even look at my phone right now since I'm driving. So I think you'll have to look. You have to look that one up yourself on the G League website. But I don't know. I love what the Grizzlies are doing. Think about it. They've been consistent all year. They really haven't gone on some 5 or 6 game slide. And here and there, you'll see them maybe lose a game they have no business losing, or maybe even when Morant was out, they were still winning earlier in the season, and then he came back and they went on a little bit of a slide. But this season, a little bit of a slide means maybe 2 or 3 games. And at this point in the season, I think you've got a consistent core that you can rely on with the Grizzlies that you haven't had for a long time. Like I said, I love what they're doing defensively. I love Desmond Bane on the perimeter. Obviously, Ja is an unselfish leader of the team. And then you throw in guys like Jaren and Brandon Clark, and a lot of depth off the bench. I really like the Grizzlies, and I really do think they'll have a legitimate shot at making the Western Conference Finals. I'm not going to go out on the limb and say they're going to make the finals, but I think they can really make a run to the playoffs if everyone stays healthy.
Your guy, Brandon Clark, man, I have loved watching him down this stretch. It's amazing to me, and this is Taylor Jenkins too. Whatever he plugs in seems to work with chemistry and everything else. Maybe not every night, but most nights. Hey, my friend, thank you much. I know you'll be pulling for the Tigers. Big weekend coming up for them.
Absolutely. Bring them some luck.
Thank you, Andy. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next Friday.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Have a good weekend.
That is our friend, our agent in Chicago from Priority Sports. That is Andy Schiffman. He's brought to you by the good folks at Old Dominick. They are really proud hometown partners of the Tigers. They are. They remind you to share a sip responsibly if you are going to imbibe tonight, hopefully cheerfully, with any of their spirits. They've got this bourbon that's going to come out. And here's the thing. their master distiller is Alex Castle. She will not release any product until she knows it's perfect. And she knows her stuff. It is really outstanding. You should check out their bar, by the way. After hours, it's the place to go. Elegant, not stuffy. People are catching on. You can try that bourbon. You can try their vodka. You can try any of those wonderful, wonderful spirits. And look, this is the only distillery in Memphis that has its own tour, a 45-minute sensory journey. Go to olddominic.com. You can find out the hours of those things. It ends with a tasting. You'll learn the art of, it's really a craft, of distilling from grain to glass, they call it. And then, of course, you get to try everything. You'll learn the history. It's a neat deal. And they are part of the Memphis DNA going back to Old Dominico Canale. That is Old Dominic Distillery in the heart of downtown at 305 South Front Street. We thank Tim Doolin. We thank Jason Munns. We thank Andy Schiffman. This should be a big weekend for the Tigers tonight. It starts the first step of the journey to making sure you get an NCAA bid with UCF. That'll be a late game sometime about 8:30 or 8:40. I'll talk to you from Memphis on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Johnny Radio is next.
I know the sweetest